I do kind of want to talk a little bit about the loneliness epidemic thing, because, like, let me stealth real quick so I don't, take the dead. But when we look at this thing and we see that it points out, like, hey, most people experience periods of loneliness or solitude, but these are different things, and the proportion of people feeling lonely is stable over time. So why do we keep talking about an epidemic of loneliness? Before the COVID pandemic, several studies showed the rates of loneliness were stable in England, the US, Finland, Sweden, and Germany, among other places. While COVID changed many things, loneliness levels quickly returned to pre-pandemic levels. So, like, I understand where it's coming from. I understand that the point is to try to show that with data, you can see that loneliness is not actually something that is going up. The thing is, though, I think that it fails to point out the specific brand of loneliness, the specific kind of loneliness that is happening right now. Points out there's a lot of lonely people, but it's not an epidemic in some countries. Some of Sweden, loneliness is in decline, at least among other adults. Despite these statistics, the idea that loneliness is increasing is pervasive. For example, in 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General warned about an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. So, I think the point, when we say words like terms like the loneliness epidemic, one, it's nomenclature. It is a shorthand for a thing that has been experienced. That's the first bit. The second bit, is that while we are experiencing maybe the same levels across the board of loneliness, the type is definitely different. So what are some of the things that have led to there being a heightened case of loneliness for people? Well, the technology that we have right now. You might have people who do not consider themselves as lonely because they're entertained, but they're still lonely. We're still atomized. You might not consider yourself as lonely because you have social media, but that's not really a replacement for real life flesh and blood people. I used to think that it was, but then I realized I was coming from a privileged position where I had always had access to close friends of mine, and then when I got into one of the most depressing stages of my life, it was because I did not have those friends and family around me. I didn't have people around me to help curb those feelings. And since I didn't have those people around me, suddenly what I thought was perfectly reasonable, what I thought was fine, what I thought would be enough and perfectly easy to deal with, stopped being easy to deal with. I was no longer able to just operate like normal. I was now dealing with a huge amount of fucking depression. Way more than I was used to having to deal with on a normal day-to-day basis. And that shit sucked way, way more than I could have ever thought it needed to be. One of the lowest parts of my life was because I didn't have friends and family around me. Now, I had friends. I had League of Legends. I had World of Warcraft. I had avenues to talk to people, to be around people, to chat with people, but all online. I didn't have anything to really experience any of that in person, and it took a toll. It took a huge toll on me, and I did not understand what kind of a toll it was taking, because I didn't have a way to really quantify it. Now, we live in a worse situation now than we did then. Short-form content didn't exist back then in the way it does now. We had, like, Vine, but I don't think that was as hard to deal with or as insidious as, say, fucking TikTok is. Or YouTube Shorts, or Reels. It's like the final boss of how can I hold your attention just long enough to keep you scrolling through these things and hating yourself more and more and more and more and more. That's what it ultimately ends up being. We can say that the loneliness epidemic should not be called that, but then we see that third spaces are being eliminated. We see that the places that people would normally congregate in order to have friends around them, to meet people, are gone. And what are they replaced with? Well, they're replaced with video games. Kind of, sort of. And that kind of helps a little bit, but you don't really generally meet a whole lot of partners or potential partners on video games. Not Not usually. It can happen, but typically it doesn't. So where do people meet potential partners? Because those happenstance things happen to be how we got people to stop being as lonely before. Well, that part is a little more fucky. Because you'd think that it would be dating apps that solved this problem. And for a short time, they kind of did. But then this, like, commodification of human companionship just started to get more and more fucked up. Not only did we start getting scammers who started utilizing individual people's loneliness as a way to make money. These are the romance scams, if you've ever seen those before. But then we have AI bots that are just weaponizing people's loneliness right now. People feel more and more isolated from their friends, from their family, from everything, and they want a partner they can confide in or be with, and then they can't because it turns out that partner's just a fucking robot. Now, there are some dumbasses that have actually embraced this and have decided to go and get, like, married to their AI husbands, which doesn't work for very long because then a firmware update happens and, you know, then they're just kind of fooked. Bree says, noticed this yesterday on Hardcore, said most restaurants are too expensive, and the other spots do things to keep homelessness and teens away. Like, you can say that, oh, clinically, the male patterns of loneliness aren't that bad. They've gone to their normal numbers. But then the lived experience of everyone is one where they are more isolated from one another. They are more divided politically from one another. We are increasingly being given more tools that allow us to stay indoors and never fucking meet one another. Never go out. It starts becoming too expensive to go out and meet one another in the first fucking place. But then, you know, don't worry. Some study shows that the numbers of people who are lonely are actually the same as we would expect over time. Like, I do not think that is the lived experience of most people. Not really. I think the lived experience of most people is the world is getting harder to exist in while still feeling like you are part of a group. Now, how do we fix this? Well, the easiest thing in the world is to just go the fuck outside. Like, that. I hate to be the guy that says that the way that you solve this problem is getting off of your ass, but truly and honestly, that is what you do. You go outside, you go to a park, you go to a public event, you meet people. Go to a convention, go to a free convention, and meet people. It's not impossible. The odds are stacked against you in terms of meeting new people and existing with them, but it's not impossible. Rita Dave says, a freak convention? Yeah, sure, go to a freak convention. We call that a munch. Go right ahead. I don't care. But I meant a free convention. So, like, here, SCGCon is a free convention that one can go to if they so choose. My hack for this has always been Magic the Gathering. My hack for this is always going to be card games. Games are a way to get in with people and meet people and have fun. And tabletop and card games are always going to be the pinnacle of that. Solution is to touch grass, noob. I mean, yeah, technically. Said you're allergic to grass, you have a doctor's note. Sucks, I'm allergic to cats, but petting them is still great. But just go out and meet people. Go out and have fun. When I read stuff that says, like, there's no data showing that there's a male loneliness epidemic, or just a loneliness epidemic at all, I think that many people's lived experiences actually operate in full contradiction of that statement. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagittarius, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Sereth, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.